everybody, how you doing? I'm Pabs, the rising VTuber and an artist, and today we're going to be continuing on the work that we've been doing for page 9 of this comic. Uh, so, coming back to this, it's good that I take maybe a couple of days at a time for a page. I've noticed that a thing with me is that very often what'll happen when I try to draw something, right, is that I'll try to make my first draft as good as possible. And while that has its benefits, this looks pretty tight. It also means that whenever I come up with something, unless I start with scratch, it's very difficult for me to. How should I put this? Like, it's very difficult for me to pivot. It's hard for me to pivot. It's hard for me to justify myself the work of pivoting. So when I do this thing where I take multiple days on a piece, or I take multiple days for a page, I think it is genuinely a good thing, because looking at this again, I can already see a couple of adjustments to make. So for one thing, helmet, we committed too hard. We committed a little too hard on this helmet. We had it around here somewhere. There we go. Committed a bit hard on the helmet. That's a good thing. Commitment is not something for everybody. I do it a lot, but as you can see, it doesn't always have its benefits. Let's see. Actually, no, we can move this back and just move the helmet. Actually, even this can still use a little bit of, shall we say, squaring? I don't think... Now, squaring. What did I mean by this? What did I mean by that? Let's find out together. Okay, move it like this. Is that too small? Does that make her head look too small? I think it makes her head look a little too small. Let's see. Maybe a little bit tilted up? Yeah, okay. So long as we just don't go to the same extremes as we used to, I think we'll be just fine. Oh, that is such a distinct shade of yellow. That's not good. I know what yellow that is. I know exactly what yellow that is. That's the yellow I used to make one of the bracelets for the Street Fighter 6 thumbnail that I used yesterday. Yeah, yesterday I got home at I think I got home maybe half an hour before I normally stream, and I hadn't eaten dinner yet. I hadn't gotten washed up or anything yet after coming home from work. So what I did is that I hopped on my tablet. I made the Blanca thumbnail in 20 minutes. The good thing about that was that I actually had a plan in mind for the Blanca thumbnail. I had not every thumbnail that I have has a vision behind it, right? Sometimes I just try to put stuff to paper and see what sticks, but other times I'm lucky enough to get a ray of inspiration a little bit before it's time to make a thumbnail, and I know exactly what I want to make. I think that the main examples are the thumbnail where I'm chasing one of the I forgot their name, the Mad Gear gang, and I'm wearing my giant padded gloves. That was an idea I had long before I made the thumbnail. And the one where I'm wearing the Blanca-chan costume is also one where I had the idea before I made the thumbnail. But for other ones, like the one where I'm being held like a little rice ball, right? The one where it's like I'm not built for these streets. That one was definitely spur of the moment. Yeah, I keep trying to think how to incorporate the different masters into the thumbnail as well. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. Hey, how you been? We are doing some comic work. But yeah, I've been trying to think of how to incorporate the different characters from Street Fighter 6 into the thumbnails. You're doing? Well, keep on keeping on. You got this. it honestly is the best that sometimes that you can make a perfectly grammatical sentence without ever putting anything at the end of it, without making it like without giving it any of the usual punch. My favorite example of this is saying it's one of the days of the week. It's like saying Taco Tuesday. It's one of the days of the week. Like, damn, bro, way to make a factually correct statement without any commitment. Without a completely neutral sentence. Seriously, those are my favorite. I think a close second is probably when you can do a, how do I put this? I think it's called like a spoonerism, right? Where you take the syllables of something and swap them around. Like, for example, I remember laughing my ass off for the longest time. So you know Burger King, right? The fast food franchise. Somebody swapped around the B and the K, and now it's called. And now the sign said Kurgerbing. That wasn't what got me though. The Burgermeister. Yeah, the Burger Tsar. The Burg Emperor. Yeah. Anyway, the sign wasn't what got me. What got me was when somebody put a little comment beneath the picture of the sign, and it said, "I go to Kurgerbing. I eat the Bamburger." For some reason, Bamburger, hamburger with just the word swapped around. I don't know what it was about that, but that made me lose my mind. I was laughing my ass off for a solid 5 minutes at Bamburger. I'm laughing a little now. I don't know. Sometimes you just get a real solid hit to your funny bone. I don't know. Maybe it was the stress at the time. I remember. This is an even funnier example, actually. I remember I was talking with my mom one time in like high school, and I'd stayed up a little bit late. I wasn't kind of at 100% energy, and I said I'm a little sleep deprived, and she thought the phrase "sleep deprived." My mom's not a native English speaker. She's really good at English, but she's not native English, so she didn't know the phrase "sleep deprived." And when I said I feel I'm sleep deprived, for some reason the phrase "sleep deprived" was so funny to her. God bless my mom. All right. If you think about it, sleep deprived is kind of a funny thing, especially in the usual context where it's just you choosing not to sleep. My brother in Christ, you're the one who deprived yourself. Oh lordy. Man, having the helmet reference really was a solid move on my part, because now I can ignore it safely, but still follow it just enough that people can't tell the difference. Unless they've been keeping up with these streams pretty regularly, in which case they see how the whole sausage is made. If and when we end up publishing this on the internet, I need to like lock these streams behind a password or something and only give it to people who were here before the comic was published. The one thing that I need to be extremely wary of, if and ever I gain, if and when I put public work out there on the internet, is that I can't let people know I'm a goober. They'll smell my weakness in the water like a shark. It'll be game over from day one. I need to do cool things and make it look easy. That's part of my life philosophy. Speaking of cool things that I learned recently, I found out that apparently it was more popular to eat tea before you drank it. So back in the days when people hadn't quite invented like brewing tea, so people didn't originally brew tea. They ate it. They put it in like this stew called, well, the modern version of it is called lei cha, right? It's like this pounded tea leaves with like a bunch of different other toppings and different ground materials. It's kind of like a thick, creamy soup. Imagine like cream of mushroom, but tea flavored, and with a lot of different other toppings. I remember seeing a bunch of other stuff like dried, like dates and stuff like that in there. It honestly sounds really good. I'm interested in trying it, but I don't know any place near me that makes it. Anyway, apparently eating tea was much more popular than drinking it. Like because of that, that's the way it was introduced into the Chinese Empire. Generally, that's people saw a cuisine where people were eating these mysterious leaves that seemed to caffeinate them, and were like, "Damn, I need to get me some of that." So they did. And that was pretty much the norm of it until this dude called Lu Yu published a treatise on drinking tea because he apparently didn't like eating it. Oh, people ate the tea bag whole. I knew somebody who did do that. I did know somebody who ate the tea bag. There was this girl I knew in middle school who loved. So whenever like somebody finished a tea bag or something, she'd be like, "Ooh, give it to me," and she would just. Well, first she'd like demoisturize it. Basically, she just like kind of like put it in her mouth and drink the rest of the tea, and then she'd just like eat the tea leaves. I was terrified of her at the time, but I respect. But now that I know of this, I respect the hustle. I don't know. Eating tea in bags to me is kind of like on the same level as like eating an entire lemon. You know, it's like one of those things where like reasonably speaking, somebody can do it, but it's just so out of the ordinary, conceptually to me at least, that I'm somewhat in awe of people who do it. Yeah. I remember a little while back, right after I came out of surgery, the doctor told me that if I ever started, like if any of the wounds in my mouth ever opened up, what I needed to do was to get a tea bag, soak it as preferably black tea, but I did do this with mint tea as well on one occasion. Soak it in water a little bit, just get it nice and soaked. Squeeze the water out of it, and then just use that as gauze. I have no idea. Like he almost seemed to be more insistent on the tea bags than with like actual gauze. No idea why, but it did work. It did work. Something ain't right with this neck. It's a little too thick. A treat for your pain. Exactly. To be fair, the one time I did do that with mint tea, my mouth felt very minty right afterwards. So, you know, benefits, pros and cons. You gotta weigh the benefits. I know what's wrong with this now. The neck. First of all, the helmet is too thick back here. Too thick, and the neck is too high up. I don't know. Maybe I just haven't been putting enough tea bags in my mouth to be able to know how good it is. I don't know. I might be missing out on some peak delicacies by refusing to eat tea bags. Oh, would you look at that? That helped a little bit with it. Yeah, now it's coming together. Maybe I can hang on. What if I kind of just re-angle the light source on this sucker so I could actually see where it's coming from? Oh, well, would you look at that? Okay, so I was slightly. Well, no, I was. Hang on. Okay, so if fixing it this way doesn't work, I'll redo whatever that transformation was. It's kind of cool how you can see the individual polygons on the gradient here. So cool. Anyway, oop, wasn't supposed to move that there. Okay, let's take a look. It's in a book, Reading Rainbow. I think I see what's wrong here. I think I see what's wrong with this picture. So this line here, which is supposed to be like where the chin is, this should go a little bit further out here. Okay, then over here. Wait, what the? No, hold on, that can't be right. No, somehow that's exactly right. What the hell? Huh. That's weird, but did I accidentally become a genius while I was making this? Hang on. This actually works really well. Dang, past Pabs was on the ball with this model. All right, let's see without the helmet. Could use some work. Definitely could use some work. Okay. So maybe past Pabs couldn't see forever into the future, but he did future-proof this thing pretty good. So we'll commend him for that much. Hmm. Should I have just made a big old hole where the head would have been? I don't know. I feel like that would have been a dangerous, slippery slope into trying to model a whole head, which could still be useful. Don't get me wrong, but maybe just a little bit further along right here. Then, like so. And we can cheat a little bit on the angle here. Oh, heck yeah. Thank you for the gift sub. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the gift sub, Bunny. I'm very happy to receive it. Thank you. Let's see. I do like that you're getting a lot of expression out of. Oh, now you have that little badge too. Very nice. Very nice. Looks very snazzy on you. All right, let's see how this looks without the. Okay, the neck is still a little big, but that's easily fixed. We can just redo the transformation we did earlier to repair this. Okay, just a little bit of this. Perfect. I do fear that I've made the cap thingy a little bit too thick. There we go. But yeah, going back to that story about the guy who invented drinking tea, or like rather popularized drinking tea, I feel like enough like dudes don't publish enough treatises these days. This Lu Yu fella, the book that he published that kind of encouraged drinking tea and showed how to prepare it, he called it like a treatise on the preparation of making tea. Like dudes don't do that no more. They don't create an authoritative instructional manual. They make YouTube videos, but they don't call them treatises anymore. Yeah. The guy, that one, those dudes who put up like no bullshit YouTube tutorials on how to like repair a machine or something are the modern day equivalent of our ancient scholars. The backbones of thought in this society. Seriously though, unnamed guys who just make YouTube tutorials for like the most obscure tech problems that you've ever faced in your life deserve a medal. Like I remember having this issue back when I was trying to make my 3D model, right? Where whenever I ported my model over to Unity to apply the appropriate Vroid conversions, it ended up having like it ended up going like inside out for some reason on the textures. And I learned that that's apparently because of just like a presentation thing in Unity, and you can just like figure out how to undo that. And it's awesome. It's great. Well, it's not great that I have that problem, but it's very cool that they made a tutorial on how to fix it. Okay. That's the helmet repaired. Then this panel right here. I'm almost tempted to kind of avoid showing Hawk going in here and instead kind of emphasize. Okay, so what I'm tempted to do is grab this tent part here, right? Close up on the alien suits getting flashbanged. Emphasize that a little more. We can't have the shipping crates for that exact reason here. Maybe we can have them a little bit further up. Yeah, that still works. Okay, we'll have another window right here. And instead of having Hawk kind of swoop in like this, we can have her in the window here. And more importantly, we need to show that they're kind of trying to escape the tent by kind of crashing through it. So what I think we do is, first of all, we expand each of these windows so that it's a little bit more emphasized once again. And so I have a little bit more room to work with. I love the idea that in the future we'll just have tents big enough that they're essentially portable greenhouses. That would actually be a really sick idea. Is that a thing? Is there such a thing as a portable greenhouse? There has to be something like that, right? I'm gonna Google that. Let me take a look here. Portable greenhouse. That's how portable greenhouse sounds like some kind of high level tech tree thing in Stardew Valley. Oh, there totally is, huh? Yeah, check this thing out. All glass, but it is pretty swanky. Here's one made out of tarp. I don't know. I feel like having tarp with holes in it. I don't know. Maybe that's just the patterning on it. So maybe it's not like permeable, right? Maybe no. You can see here that they aren't actually holes. That's just kind of the patterning on it. That is cool though. I don't know. The so very surreptitiously photoshopped flower pots in this one. That's what really gets me. Very good stuff. All right, what's a really great? I kind of like this one. This is just like, hang on. This is this one, but kind of divided into two, so it's a lean-to, more of a tent. I like this one though. It seems very convenient. You know, just hanging it up against a stair rail. I don't know, something about having structures that are, I don't know, like I really like stuff that's tucked into other stuff. I don't know how else to explain it. Like those like you know those hang on, how do I put this, like a bedroom nook? Hang on. Yeah, like these things. So like spaces that are tucked into other spaces. I really like the kind of like snug feeling of these. Or like stuff tucked into underneath stairs. Like, yeah, like this thing. Look at it, it's so comfortable and useful looking. And probably such a nightmare to clean. But so whimsical. Truly. Absolutely. I love them. I love them. I love little spaces like that. But okay, here's what we do. First, I'm going to shrink these guys back down. So I've expanded the windows, but I'm going to shrink down the actual guys in here. This might take a minute, though. Okay, shrink these guys down. The useful thing is that I wasn't quite so neat with my fill tool here, so I can actually kind of see where the original lines for the window are. And that's going to be very useful because my handling of the lasso tool is not the greatest. I have so much respect for people who can just draw with a lasso tool. Actually, the most respect for me goes out to the one dude who can. I know this one artist on Tumblr, absolute maniac. What they do is that they make, and I know them specifically for their Disco Elysium fan art because that's the one that I saw the most. But apparently, they make all their art pieces using Microsoft Word. Like they use solid color blocks and gradients made out of the shapes available in Microsoft Word to draw. They have my infinite respect for apparent mastery over a program that I can't even make behave for like a normal image. Right? Like, I don't know how familiar people are with trying to put an image in Microsoft Word, but it's difficult. It's not unlike, you know how like in horse movies there's like this one, the protagonist will find like a horse that's really mean to everybody else but warms up to them really quickly for some reason, and it's like, wow, this horse and I have a special bond. It's exactly like that, except the horse also hates you, except for this guy apparently. So yeah, big respect to that person for apparently making the impossible possible. God, I hope they're thriving wherever they are. Okay, have this alien down here. Well, seeing as it helped me out the first time, I'm not too eager to get better at my fill tool handling. I will, however, use the millipen to fill in some of the spaces here because I'm not a complete animal. I am like 45% animal at best. Maybe 50% if I'm having quite the day. But then it's kind of like a werewolf situation where you kind of forget who you are. Let's see. Yeah, I think my ambient animal to human ratio is like a solid maybe 15%. Like usually I'm like at a 15-20% at on the daily. But I think I think the more I feel pressure, the more that number ticks up. If that number ever hits 100, I shall polymorph into a small mole or perhaps a capybara. I'd like to say that I like do some. What was that one game where like everybody was a furry? It wasn't like Killer Instinct. It was Fist of Fury, I think. Animal fight, animal werewolf fighting game. Uh, like there's like I think there was like even an armadillo in there. No, that's not it. Like I remember it was like a really underserved. It reminded me a lot of Killer Instinct though. How was it? I don't remember. If I look up furry fighting game, I might find it. But I might also find like 6 different itch.io pages. Oh yeah, there we go. Top fighting games tagged furry itch.io. Absolutely called that. But what was it called? Furry fighting game 1990s? Top free games tagged 1990s and furry. Itch.io is a beautiful place. Seriously though, which one was it? It's not this one. Like I remember it wasn't Killer Instinct, but it had a very familiar name. It had a very similar name. Time Killers? No. The last played King of the Monsters? No, that's the Godzilla fighting game. Street Fighter the movie, the fighting game? Absolutely not. Uh, Darkstalkers? No, that's not the one. No, it's not Fatal Fury either. Dang it. All right, I'll try one more site, and if it's not there, I'll just call it a day. I'll start researching it after stream. Wait, is it Primal Rage? I think it might be Primal Rage. Hang on, we might have hit jackpot. Primal Rage wiki. Come on. Come on, show me the character listing. If it's all different, like, hang on, characters. Okay, so Primal Rage is almost all dinosaur-looking creatures, but but I'll call that close enough. But yeah, I remember that for some reason because I remember very distinctly, like, for some reason, a podcaster that I used to listen to. I remember that podcast for a lot of different things, but what I remember the most about it for was that the main kind of like presenter of the podcast had a Patreon, and one of the goals for the Patreon was jokingly to let him buy the rights to this video game, to Primal Rage. At least I think it was Primal Rage. It might be another one. But I have like 70-30 odds that it's Primal Rage. All right, actually what we can do, we can get a ratio out of the picture a little bit here. And what we can do instead is have a kind of streak of speed just over the head, just overhead here. And then we need something for this last window that's going to make it obvious that it's Hawk and Horatio. So what I think I'll have is Horatio going like getting like rugby tackled by Hawk over here. The best way to show that, I think, would be to have Hawk's helmet here. It is absolutely hilarious, the idea that Hawk is just like ramming through this fancy tent. Just absolutely whatever. I'm gonna get this dinosaur out of here if it's the last thing I do. Okay, and maybe instead of having it be a straight line up here, I can have it be just blurs of speed. And kind of in a similar vein in this last window. Securing the dinosaur. Securing the Dinosaur sounds like an achievement name for an obscure Steam title. That sounds like an achievement you'd get for something like a Jurassic Park mobile game. God. I remember when every single movie and even some video games, I think, had a very crappy mobile tie-in spin-off. God, remember when, like, I think it was, I don't remember when, like 2013 it must have been, when we were like starved for news about a new Fallout game, and suddenly Bethesda had a press conference and they announced like Fallout Shelter, and we just kind of had to eat that and be grateful for it for like 6 months until they announced Fallout 4. And then Fallout 4 released, and then we were still ungrateful because Fallout 4 wasn't great. I mean, no, Fallout 4 had its moments. That being said, I still haven't finished a full campaign of it. And hell, I finished a campaign of Fallout 3. Although, to be fair, that was when I was a teenager and had much more time on my hands. Now I'm an old man. I got responsibilities and shit. Might fuck around and get a mortgage. Actually, I probably shouldn't get a mortgage with the current interest rates. My god. It may be called inflation, but let me tell you, you're not gonna bounce back from this deal. And then we're gonna have Hawk with her jetpack over here. Over here, and then just kind of really manhandling this dinosaur. Maybe I ought to make her a little bit smaller too, relatively speaking. Actually, you know what? First, I should finish drawing, and then I'll make her smaller. Yeah. Speaking of new things that I learned you could do with food, apparently it's an American tradition to make statues out of butter, cow statues out of butter. Like they'll use like metal support beams and everything, but apparently like a big county fair attraction is a cow made out of solid butter. You know, it's one of those older traditions, I think, which is honestly kind of rad. I don't know. I think making statues out of different things is always a really cool idea. You know, ice statues, uh, macaroni statues, clay statues. Actually, clay statues are a pretty normal thing to make. Well, maybe in the olden days. I don't think they're so normal anymore. You don't see as many clay statues these days. Not as many as you used to, at least. I guess it's the kind of like historical clout you get for being one of the most available and useful to work materials for upwards of 100 years. I think clay as a material does not get enough credit. You know, bricks, pots, jars, vases, it can do it all. And I feel like we are not grateful enough for that. Okay, over here. And here. It's been a while since I've played with clay, actually. I was never particularly handy with it, but I do miss working it a little bit. I think the dollar store ought to carry some. I should go look into that sometime. I do have plans to do another hand cam stream at some point this year, so I will need at least a couple of materials to work with. And we can actually move this kind of blur down. But yeah, I wonder what other kind of odd statue, what do you call, things there are, because I know at least in Ecuador, right, we used to have this thing called El Año Viejo, which was this tradition where we'd make a dummy filled with sawdust and made out of old cloth. And what we do is that each new year we would kind of burn it, and it would symbolize us getting rid of the old year, which is where the name comes from. El Año Viejo means the old year. I don't know, because viejo also mean, old. Old in English can mean like outdated, but it can also mean like physically old, right? Same deal in Spanish. Viejo can mean outdated, but it can also mean like old in the physical sense. So I don't know. I have a very grandfatherly picture of the sawdust dummies used in the Año Viejo festival. Let's make this hand a little bit bigger and a little less messed up looking. If we extend this one, it should be fine. Hmm. I mean, I do know that like in Japan, right? There's those. I don't think it's for New Year's. I do think it's just like a general celebration thing. I do know that they make like those small towers made out of mochi and mandarin oranges. But that's not really on the same scale, I think, unless they happen to make a really truly gigantic one, which is entirely possible. For New Year's, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, what was the name again? Like Gagami Mochi, I think it was called. Yeah. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. Yeah. These things. This one's like a particularly fancy setup. Like it doesn't. Oh, it's just a normal orange sometimes too. That's neat. Yeah, no, like they can range from fanciness in a pretty diverse, broad kind of way. Look, this one looks like Baymax. That's cute. Oh, this one has a plastic orange too. I wonder if like the rice kick is also a model. It probably is. I think you can see the double sided tape right here. Still very cool. I like especially the wire decoration here. They also have some paper cutting art. Dude, paper cutting seems like such a difficult thing. It's like making one of those paper cut snowflakes, but 10 times harder. I feel like I was never particularly good at making paper cut snowflakes. I feel like mine always were a little. I always kind of overdid it a little bit, and mine ended up looking less like snowflakes and more like very thin computer chip wafers, essentially. This arm is wrong. Needs to be a little bit smaller. Okay, put that down a little. Actually, put it up a little. And that would also mean that the arm sleeve wouldn't be visible from this angle, so... There we go. You know, filling in these lines that I missed with the paint bucket tool is a little calming. It reminds me a lot of like coloring books. Man, remember when adult coloring books were like a huge fad? I wonder if those are still relevant. Like, I bet, of course, I'm guessing that you can still find them in places, but I'm wondering if they're quite at the same level that they were before. I don't know. I feel like adult coloring books have gotten phased out in favor of like rock crystals and everything. There's always been like this weird correlation between people who practice mindfulness and people who practice mysticism. I don't know. I just want to get a better brain. I don't need to buy pretty rocks. Although I do feel like owning a pretty rock will make my brain, well, not because of any like energies that it might exude, but more because like I just like pretty rocks. So I don't know. Maybe having a pretty rock will improve my mental health. I shouldn't knock it till I try it. I know I was very tempted to buy a lava lamp the other day. God, lava lamps are so deceptive, right? Because the store sign on the lava lamp, I was like going closer to inspect it, and I saw a huge sign like, "We have gotten sued over this before, so please don't touch it." Huge kind of sign that said, "Please don't touch the lava lamps; they are very hot." And weirdly enough, that just made me want to touch them more. Like, I almost had no impulse to touch them. You know, I just wanted to get a better look at them. I had no impulse to touch them before I read that sign, and then after reading the sign, I was like, I want to touch it. It's, it's, it was haunting. It was like reverse psychology, but in a single package of paper. Is it really still reverse psychology if they genuinely don't want you to do the thing that you're doing? I don't know. I feel like that's a gray area. That's not reverse psychology. That's more like sideways psychology. That's just regular old antagonism. Oh yeah. That being said, speaking of like funky stuff that I've found out recently, right? I found out about this old Berlin nightclub, right? I don't remember the name of it, but what it did was that it had a pneumatic tube system, right? So this is going to get a little crazy, right? So this club in Berlin had a pneumatic tube system. So it was like a place for couples to meet, right? Like it was almost like a old timey version of Tinder. So what it did is that it had telephones wired to every single table in the restaurant or in the club, and above the tables in the club, you could see like the number of the table. So if you are interested in somebody on the table, you in the table or on the table, you could just dial in the number for their table and you'd be able to speak with them. And this became like a place for people to meet. But for people who were a little shy about phones, they also had an alternative system of pneumatic tubes. They had a pneumatic tube array set up so that each table could like drop a note or message through the pneumatic tube system. A few like lady moderators would be downstairs sorting out the tubes. They'd send it to the table, and that's how you talk to each other as well, which I find infinitely charming. I really like that. I don't know. There's something that's so impersonal about a text. I feel like at least with a pneumatic tube message written in pen and paper, there's some real physical heft to it. It was also a really good idea to have like sensors in place as well, I think. I think that was like the part of it that made me happiest, is like learning that, yeah, no, they did also have like moderators in place to make sure that nobody was doing anything untoward. Let's see. These days, I keep seeing pop-ups in my Steam notifications about friends of mine playing Baldur's Gate 3. I'm somewhat interested in checking it out, but I'm also kind of not. I feel like Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be one of those things where I spent like 3 months or 6 months streaming it, like what ended up happening with Hades. Same? Yeah, no. It seems to be really fun, though. Like I've seen a lot of people really enjoy their time with it. If they're having fun, then I'm glad. I do know that the Baldur's Gate series was like one of those things that was like really old but recently got revived. I think the same thing happened with another old PC game, Wasteland, a few years ago. Yeah, they ended up releasing Wasteland 2, which is like an updated version of the original game. I tried to play the original Wasteland, which was, how old was the original Wasteland? Hang on. Wasteland was from 1988, the year of our Lord 1988. So I was trying to play like at that point, 30-year-old game? No, it hasn't been 30 years, has it? Hang on, 1998 minus 2023. 25 years. Okay, so I definitely not 30-year-old, but probably flirting in the early 20s. So yeah, I was playing the original Wasteland game, and I remember getting my ass whooped by it. The thing is, back in those days, games were much different for several reasons. First of all, because like gaming as an industry hadn't quite developed yet. I remember reading this somewhere. I don't know if it's particularly true. So, for example, the reason that like older Mario games, particularly the first Mario game, are as difficult as they are is because back then they couldn't fit a whole lot of stuff into one game. So what they ended up having to do is they would have to end up kind of padding it with difficulty. They would make sure that, okay, this person's about to get like a game that costs like $60 in 1988 money. We need to make the experience we need to make the experience memorable, obviously, but we also need to make it difficult in case they're really good at the game and they end up beating it in like 20 minutes, and then they feel like they got cheated out of their money. Nowadays, they do this by adding like collectibles and shit in the game. Looking at you, Ubisoft. But back in the day, they did it by making the games more difficult. And moreover, it's a different style of game, right? It's a very different thing. It was like a very different time period because, at the time, games weren't that big, both in the sense of culture and in the sense of they just couldn't fit that much information into like a floppy disk. So what ended up happening is that they ended up printing like these side booklets to go with the game. Like I remember I tried to play Ultima 7 because that comes free with your GOG.com account, right? I tried to play Ultima 7 and that has like 6 different volumes of additional side content that give you the full descriptions and recipes for like all the different spells, all the different creatures. You know, they give you like cues for the story. They tell you to like to turn to page 87 so that you can read the message. And it worked as both a anti-piracy system and as a way to have more content in the game without necessarily making the game bigger. And I think that's a very clever thing, and I honestly miss it a little bit. This hand is in really the wrong place. Hang on. I had to move it back just a touch. This is all to say that I was not a very patient reader and was also not very accustomed to playing older games like that. So I ended up eating dirt within like 30 minutes of starting a new save file. I remember the same thing happened when I tried to play Fallout 1 for the first time. I remember I've beaten Fallout 1 on stream, so I obviously got much better at it. But this is like even before Fallout 1. Fallout 1 is from like the 90s, I think. Yeah, 1997, almost 10 years after Wasteland came out. So yeah, absolutely a different ball game. You know, people say that video game logic only works if you've played video games for a while, right? Like if you had like if you showed video game logic to a normal person, they'd be like, "What the hell are you on about?" Right? You know, why is it that that in like Pokemon you can just enter people's houses unperturbed? Why is it that when you fight enemies in Zelda, you're expected to fight them to the death? You know, it's all these different kind of cultural things that we've kind of come to accept over time. And you know, you wonder, right, if it's like, does that mean that also back in the older games you were also expected to, you know, maybe try different approaches and be more peaceful or something? The answer is hell no, because like those older games were also violent. But their issue instead is that they are weird in a different way. They're still weird, just in a simply different configuration. One that I'm not familiar with. Yeah. I think that Berlin nightclub that I was talking about is actually still open. You know, I think it is still open and they've kind of upgraded the pneumatic tube system. I don't think it's fully digital just yet, but I do know that it has like options to, for example, gift the person who that you're trying to message with like with like little gifts from the club and everything. Seems interesting. Okay, maybe I tell around here, and then bend it here. I'm gonna take a quick sip of water. Let's see. Oh yeah, I've been meaning to talk about this since the other day. I remember remembering this story back when I was drawing this panel here. So I've recently learned that apparently there's a new startup in town. Aleph Aeronautics it was called. So what this dude's deal is that he's trying to make the world's first commercially available flying car. Unfortunately, he can't claim to have made. First of all, A quick word on the CEO of this company. He looks like he should be making drum and bass tracks. Hang on, let me show you a picture of this dude. Like, this dude looks like he should be dropping the hardest drum and bass soundtracks of our time. That's a guy here, right? Like, he looks like he should be mixing vinyls in a dark club somewhere. I think it's the dark glasses. I think it's wearing the sunglasses inside that really gives off that vibe. Hang on, let me check something real quick. Okay, so right arm would be going under the legs, left arm would be going under the shoulder. Anyway, so the article that I was reading about him on this newsletter that I get, right? It said that he was selling the world's first flying car. That is wrong. This is wrong. The world's first flying car was, in fact, the AVE Mizar. And boy, this is quite the story. So back in the day, there was this one dude running around who wanted to make a flying car, as you are wont to do. But the problem is, this dude actually had like welding training, or at least I think he did, or at least he thought he did. So what he did is that he cannibalized both a Ford Pinto and a Cessna Skymaster, which is a type of plane. He kind of ripped the butt off the Cessna Skymaster, and then he attached it to the back of the Pinto. And thus the AVE Mizar was born. Now, I should mention that all of this is all spectacularly such a bad idea. But it is so spectacular, particularly because of all the components involved. First of all, the Ford Pinto, if you have never heard of this car, is a car infamous for its factory defect. So what the Ford Pinto had was this defect where when it was shipped so that like the fuel line for some reason had like a little very delicate kind of part where if you jostled it a little bit, say if like you were in a crash or something, the fuel would start leaking and it would start to catch fire. Which, as you might imagine, is bad. And, Ford shipped these out. They had like this cost benefit analysis saying like, oh yeah, it will just like tank the whatever lawsuits we get from this and it'll be worth the money. Like they did a cost benefit analysis and they basically said, all right, if we get sued, we're going to lose this much money. But if we just ship it out right now, we stand to gain this much money. And the money that they thought they stood to gain was much greater than that of the lawsuit. So they were like, fuck it, let's ship it. And this was a huge mistake because almost immediately lawsuits came piling in, not only for the crashes that they expected, but also because somebody leaked the information that like they said, oh yeah, no, we'll just take the lawsuits. So they also got sued for that. And in the end, obviously, they ended up losing so much money, but obviously not enough to shut them down as a company. In any case, the Ford Pinto has kind of cemented itself in culture, before Tesla came along at least, as that car that always exploded. So not a great, but the one thing it did have going for it is the thing. The one thing that the Pinto did have going for it is that it was the lightest car on the market. And that's why this mad scientist wannabe used it as the basis for the AVE Mizar. I don't know anything about planes is the thing. I know the story behind the Ford Pinto, which is why I'm able to tell you about it, but I don't know anything about the Cessna Skymaster. It seems to have been a perfectly serviceable plane before it was bisected. So, that was overall a net loss. Anyway, AVE Mizar, the dude took it for a test drive, and I think it was like, I don't remember how many test drives they took it for, but it can't have been that many because I remember in one of the test drives, the right wing ended up coming loose, and the pilot had to touch down really quickly in a cornfield. So, and it turns out to have been because like the welding on the wing was just really, really crummy. That was the first time that happened. The second time this happened, the pilot who was originally supposed to drive the thing wasn't available. So the actual inventor of the AVE Mizar, again, kind of incredible that this dude not only invented a flying car, between quotation marks, invented a flying car, but that he also managed to convince somebody else to pilot it. Anyway, the AVE Mizar, the second flight that the right wing was destroyed, that was kind of like when they called it quits. Oh, God. So, yeah, the good news is that at least this car, the flying car that Aleph Aeronautics seems to want to produce, is powered by propellers rather than like conventional. It's like a, I don't know how to describe it. I know exactly how to describe it, but it's faster to draw it. Imagine, like, if you will, do you remember those diagrams of a cell you would see in high school where like the nucleus of the cell was like this big dome somewhere floating around in there, and like the rest of the cell was like some kind of like nondescript cube with like a mitochondria floating around in there somewhere? That's more or less the basic structure of the Aleph Aeronautic car. It has four wheels, obviously, and it has a big rectangle and a bubble in the middle where you sit. I'm going to draw this dude in the fetal position. You'd sit here in the middle, and what it has is that this part here, these parts here and here, aren't solid metal. They're like this carbon fiber mesh. And beneath that is like an octuple array of really big drone-style propellers. So the idea is that once you're on the road, you can use the car wheels here. But once you want to take to the sky, you can. It's almost like a VTOL, really, where it takes off vertically, but you can flip around to be in the bubble like this if you really want to get schmovin' and get the propellers kind of horizontal. That's what I understood from the different videos that the CEO produced, at least. I hope this one at least ends more peacefully than the AVE Mizar. Because, again, the AVE Mizar is one of those things. It's like a great example of going full mad scientist, but, actually facing the consequences thereof. It's a fantastic cautionary tale to people who think that having a degree in engineering gives them the authority to play God. Let's see. Okay, gonna give him a dapper little hat. Boy, can you believe that I haven't even started touching the last two panels? The past hour and 15 minutes has just been me trying to touch up this first panel. Well, so it goes. Let's see. Oh, and I can. Okay, here's how I can still win. I give Horatio his massive glasses. That'll really help to distinguish him from the rest of the other characters. That being said, I kind of want to move his arm from here to over here. I do fear, however, that if the AVE Miser guy... let me look this up. Who actually built it? Because I forgot his name, but I should look it up. What's the name of the guy who built it? Let's see. The AVE Mizar, named after the Star Miser, was a roadable aircraft. Roadable aircraft. Roadable. Roadable sounds like a. Roadable sounds like a name given to a. I feel like roadable would be like what you see in like a car commercial. Let's see. Okay, it doesn't actually. I don't think it names the dude here. Where is this guy? Henry Smolinski was the name of the guy who invented it. Henry Smolinski. Okay, we put this here. We put this over here. Maybe some impact lines somewhere around here. And then we have them. Okay, and then we have some action lines back here to show it getting pushed to the corner of the tent. We have Horatio's horn poking through the tent for that sweet, sweet physical comedy. Okay, yeah, this looks much better than the original one. At least it reads a little bit more easily. Although I do think that maybe instead of having the arm over here, maybe Hawk can almost be like sumo grabbing him. And we can have a few of the grenades on the bandolier visible here. It's so funny, the idea of just carrying around a bunch of grenades around your neck like it's some kind of like sweat towel for the gym. Okay, there we go, right here. Hmm. Eyeballs or nah? I'm thinking nah. Okay. Now I need to remember what's actually going on in these last two panels. Let's see. Wait, hang on. I think I just read something amazing about the AV Miser. Production was scheduled to begin in 1974. AVE had stated that prices would range from 18,300 to 29,000. How much is that in modern money? 1974 to 2023 dollar conversion. Dollar value in 1974 today. Okay, here we go. That's Canadian dollar. We don't need that. We want the American dollar. All right, $2,900. We are looking at, drum roll please, $180,000 for the nice model, of course, for the privilege of dying in a plane crash that you can drive. Let's hear it for capitalism. God, what a time to be alive. The 1973. If you were born like old enough to like hear about the ABE miser at that time, you would have also been born around at the time where the moon landing happened. Imagine being old enough, reading about the moon landing as a kid, and then hearing about some doofus who tried to make a car into a plane. My God. All right, where's the actual scripts for this? Do I have the walking stick in here? Yeah, we do. All right, nice. Okay. We need to have a slightly differently shaped tent for this one. I'm picturing like more kind of square. Do you guys know in the movies when like a dude was entering into a tent, the tent thing is always unfurled like this, and then when they have to go in, they kind of like furl it up like this, and they're always like holding it over their head. That can't have been very practical, right? What happens if there's like a draft and the tent thingy starts making a racket? Like, yes, it's great for dramatic effect, but what if you don't want to let in any of the hot air? I'm just saying, absolutely horrible, horrendous insulation. Yeah, maybe a ratio tent can look more like a proper camping tent than like a military tent or something. You know, maybe that's how I can distinguish it a little. Wait, is there such a thing as like an archaeology tent? If there is, I am going to be so happy. Okay, first it is for archaeology at Trent University, which is, well, promising isn't the right word. Hmm. Oh, this might work actually. You know, something very simple like this. Oh, check this one out though. You know, this is way too big. You can see like a walkway under there, right? But I really like this idea of just having like a big old tent to house a larger amount of things under. This looks good. Yeah, having it look a little bit shabby, a little bit like crummy, I think is a good right idea. You know, I think it'll especially help to like set it against like the more professionally put up, you know, more clean military tents. And maybe one flap to the wind. This is the wrong layer. Okay, like this. Yeah, just having like the sticks poking out and everything. Very nice. All right, let me take another look at the script for this. What maybe we can do actually, hang on, now that I think about it. What we can maybe do as a fun little trick is to maybe have it from a top-down perspective and just see a little bit of whoever's inside the tent. Some footsteps leading up to it. Yeah, now we're getting real good with it. You know, maybe have the lights on in there too. I forgot. Are the it's okay? The panels aren't put in this layer, which is very convenient for me. Okay. If you see me making like an angry expression on my avatar, that's because I'm trying to like figure out this expression myself. I am unfortunately very much guilty of like making the expression that I'm drawing while I'm drawing it thing. And it can lead to some very twisted grimaces. Let's see. I wonder what the funniest artist to claim to have done that would be. Hieronymus Bosch. Wait, is Hieronymus Bosch the guy that I'm thinking of or no? Yeah, it is. Let's see. Cutting out the eyebrows like this is very difficult with a hat. Or rather, it's very difficult to show the expression without the quote-unquote eyebrows that I gave him. Quite the pickle, this. Also, I'm totally keeping that little scrap of tent on his horn until the end of the comic, if it can be at all humanly helped. Maybe I can flatten the top of the hat. Hang on, I've got an idea. Or rather, not the top, the rim of it. I just have to be very, very careful with my work so as to ensure it doesn't end up looking like a fedora. Unless it already does, in which case, well, mission failed, but we'll get him next time. Let's be real, there's only so many variations on a formal hat that you can do before you eventually end up with something that looks like a fedora. Let's see. In a similar vein, there's only so many fancy hats you can make before you end up making a tiny little top hat that hangs on the top of your head. You know, a little bit on a jaunty angle. Would it be possible for a ratio to clench his teeth? Yeah, no, that doesn't seem right. Maybe we could have him like doing like, you know, like clicking his tongue a little bit. Almost like biting his lip a little bit. Mm. Flaring the nostrils would also probably be a good idea. Maybe this makes him look too pissed, but I'd rather do exaggerated and then tone it down than have it be weak sauce and then have to tone it back up. Okay, and then like this. Maybe a little further. Maybe a little lower on the horns. How do I? Okay, I need to make him like put up a ball up a fist like here. Oh yeah, that's a nice fist. Something about it's off though. Maybe moving up the finger width a little bit here. Just a little bit. Maybe if I flip the image, it'll make more sense. I think maybe that what's bugging me about this is that they need to be like longer, or maybe they're too long. The thumb's too big and the fingers are too small. That's what's bugging me about it. Yeah. And now we just shrink this down just a hair's width. There we go. That looks like a proper fist. The idea of a dude wearing a Miss Frizzle type shirt that has all these like trowels and little animal bones on it, while he's holding up this just righteous raging fist, is a little bit funny. A very interesting kind of juxtaposition there. I'm here for it. I'm absolutely down for it. All right, her arm is under his shoulder, right? Yeah, okay. Do we already know who this is in this panel, or is it a little bit further ahead? Okay, we don't know who it is yet, but we do know that they're on the computer. Oh, you know what? I'm kind of imagining for the computers, it's like still a reel-to-reel system, but it looks almost like a modern gaming PC a little bit. Like instead of where the fans would be, there would be like reel-to-reel things. Dude, if you'd have shown the people making reel-to-reel computers the kind of like stuff we have today with like all the RGB gamer lights and everything, they would start hyperventilating. I'm not even kidding. What does the like number machine look like? The one that was used by Alan Turing. Oh, it's literally called the Turing machine. Okay, here's a physical Turing machine model. Let's see. The Turing machine is a mathematical model of computation describing an abstract machine that manipulates. Oh, it's an abstract machine. Wait. Uh-oh. This is too advanced for me. You know what? That Alan wasn't kidding. This shit do be Turing. Let's see. The Turing Bomba? The bomb, BOMBE, by the by, was a. Hang on, I can't click out of it. Was an electromechanical device used by British cryptologists to help decipher German Enigma machine encrypt secret messages. The US Navy and US Army later produced their own machines with the same functional specification, albeit engineered differently from both each other and from Polish and British bombs. Take a look at this big boy. This is a version of it that's in color, by the way. The working rebuilt bomb now at the National Museum of Computing on in Bletchley Park. Each of the rotating drums simulates the action of an Enigma rotor. There are 36 Enigma equivalents, and on the right-hand end of the middle row, 3 indicator drums. I see. So basically, it beat the Enigma machine by having like 36 of them built into it. I think that's how it works, at least. The following settings of the Enigma machine must be discovered to decipher German military Enigma messages. Once these are known, all the messages for that network for that day could be decrypted. Internal settings that require the lid of the Enigma machine to be opened. The external settings that could be changed without opening the Enigma machine. And the scrambler rotor positions at the start of enciphering the message key. Huh. That seems like it would be kind of difficult to get at. Given the fact that telephones weren't a thing back in the time. Oh, this is some very complicated stuff. They've got flowcharts in here and everything. Oh yeah, no, I'm not cracking this puzzle today. In any case, it does look like like making a Turing machine style thing, where there's just a bunch of dials in here. Might not be a bad idea. It is kind of a funny idea as well to just have the machine be like this far out. Also, I need to make this fist more vertical. There we go. I remember watching a movie based on the life of Alan Turing where they eventually figured out how to crack the. Like, the thing is, this bomb thing, right? It was built to crack Enigma machine messages. But I think the problem that they ran into is that while it could crack the messages, they had no way of figuring out what the internal external settings were. Again, this is a movie based on a thing that I found very difficult to understand. So forgive me if I get a few of the details wrong. But essentially, the idea was that because each letter ended with a very specific kind of like phrase, because they were the Nazis, they would at the end of it they'd say like Heil Hitler, right? At the end of each like daily transmission, they used the code word for that last phrase to crack the day's messages. I think that's how it went in the movie. It probably went very differently in real life. Come to think of it, though, it probably isn't that difficult to get the internal settings for the Enigma machine over the way, because even though they didn't have telephones, they definitely had what do you call the tappy thingies, the telegrams. Yeah, they would have had telegrams, so it wouldn't have been that hard to transmit long distance messages. Every time I remember, I try to like think about the history of long distance communications. I remember this one story about like the use of smoke signals, right? So this one Chinese warlord had this like very poor tendency to like he had this one concubine, right? Like this Chinese warlord had this one concubine who was a very like, she was very difficult to amuse, and he wanted to make his girl smile. Unfortunately, it seemed like the fastest way to make her smile was to fool his generals into thinking that like some shit was going down by putting up a fake smoke signal. And much like the boy who cried wolf, this guy eventually ended up doing it one too many times, and then his generals were like, "All right, fuck it. Whenever he sends the next smoke signal, we're just not listening." So then one day he got invaded, and well. Let's just say he regretted messing with the smoke signals. Oh man, he got his ass kicked so hard. Let's see. The other horn over here. I kind of need to reposition the wrist here, is the thing. Okay, then grab this, put it over here. Perfect. Okay. And again, we just have Hawk covered in tallboy style grenades. Man, I bet back before we discovered radio and like long transmission telegrams, there were all kinds of wacky ways to communicate at long distance. I mean, we had carrier pigeons, for goodness sake. That can't have been the weirdest thing to be invented. Or trained, I guess. Is it fair to say that people invented carrier pigeons? I feel like that's more of a thing where you like train them into existence. Yeah, I don't think it's fair to say that people invented carrier pigeons. I'm taking my stance on this. Didn't the U.S. used to have like a type of pigeon that had like a messenger dove or something? I think like that's a type of bird that's extinct. Messenger dove. Let's see. You think so? Yeah, I remember hearing something about this. Pigeon. Hmm. Okay, I'm reading through the Wikipedia entry for homing pigeon, also called a carrier pigeon, or a mail pigeon, or a messenger pigeon. Hmm. Type of domestic pigeon derived from the wild rock dove. Hang on. Was like there was? Hang on. Oh, here we go. Pigeons were historically used to send messages, but lost the homing instinct long ago. Modern day homing pigeons, or racing pigeons, do have carrier blood in them because they are, in part, descendants of the old style carriers. This is one reason why they are still commonly but erroneously called carrier pigeons. Huh. Yeah, but no, there was like some kind of extinct pigeon breed. The passenger pigeon, that's the one that was extinct. Yeah, the passenger pigeon, or the wild pigeon, is an extinct species of pigeon that was endemic to North America. It was derived from the French word passager, meaning passing by due to the migratory habits of the species. Man. Look at this thing. Living female in 1896, kept in the aviary of C.O. Whitman. I don't know. Like it's always sad when an animal goes extinct, but I'm always really sad whenever it's a bird. I don't know. There's something about it that really just hits me. Let's see. Man, the noise that this bandolier must make against Hawk's helmet is gonna be insane. She's just walking around and it's just going like clank 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 like she's walking with pockets full of coins. I remember I remember whenever I used to get I think like the sad reality of the fact is that I think like the generation that I was born in, right, is going to be one of the last generations to have like a pocket, like a concept of like carrying around pocket change. Because kids these days, right, they have bills, they might have pocket change, but like mostly most things these days rely on having like some kind of like virtual payment system, right? Some kind of card or something, a chip reader. I don't know. Maybe the kids today still carry coins, and I'm just out of touch. I don't know though. Like it used to be a huge thing that like you just walk around with coins in your backpack and they're just like jangle around really loud. Oh man. That happened to me at least a couple of times. It didn't help that I also had like a lot of pins attached to my bag. So what would happen is like the coins would also hit against the pins and like the pencil case and like I had a metal ruler too, and that would also hit against it. Oh my god, I was such a racket whenever I was carrying coins around. And I used to like jog around a lot too. I was one of those guys that used to like break out into little jogs everywhere. So that plus the coins and everything else was just It was loud, is what I'm trying to say. I caused quite a racket. Okay. A little thing here. I heard that apparently canes with like these like rounded top grips, right, aren't very comfortable to walk around with. So I need to figure out like a way to maybe like give it like a swooping design. That actually looks pretty sick. I like that. But for the time being, I'll leave it like this. Oh yeah, this grenade would also get interrupted by the jetpack, so I might as well just either move it around a little bit so that it's facing this way and it's clear that it's being pressed up against the jetpack a little bit. Okay, so the jetpack would be around here. Big jetpack. Okay, so the shoulder would be around here, which means that the elbow would be over here. And the stomach would be around here. And then the kneecap would be around here, and then the other knee around here. All right, we're in business. No, we are not, because those legs are way too low down. Oh, wait, that's like the... Something about this ain't right. Let's try that again. Oh, okay, I need to put them further up. Okay, around here. Ugh. Something itched my neck just now. Oh, a stray hair fell on my neck. I don't have hair, though. Whose hair was that? I like how me trying to maintain kayfabe paints so many wonderfully short horror stories of my life. You know, in any other context, being like, "Wait, I'm bald. Why did I feel a hair fall on my head?" Would be like a horror story, but you know, it's just me trying to keep up kayfabe. So instead, it's just kind of goofy. Seriously, I felt a hair fall on my neck, but I'm bald. Sounds like something straight out of r/2 sentence horror. That's one of the old crappy creepypasta material things. I need to pull this shoulder a little bit further back. Man, like, I feel like a lot of people remember like the really good creepypastas or like the more famous ones, right? Like the Slender Man, Jeff the Killer, and everything like that. But I feel like people really underestimate just like the amount of really just very mediocre ones that are floating around. Now, don't get me twisted. I was never a creepypasta guy myself. I'm kind of a huge coward, but I did read a few back in my day. You know, I'm familiar with like the more bigger, with the bigger ones. You know, Ben Drowned, Slenderman, you know, Jeff the Killer. I remember some of those. I think my favorite one was probably the one where like some dude found like a cursed Godzilla NES cartridge. That one was definitely like one of my favorites. Particularly since hang on. Since it gave me one of my favorite images ever. This one. Still the best, 1973. I think the original creepypasta, yeah, it had the monster without any sunglasses. This one has the monster in sunglasses. But yeah, this is one of my favorite images. Still the best, 1973. That needs to be on a bumper sticker. With the creature still on it with sunglasses, naturally. All right, let's take another look at page 2 real quick so that we can get a sense of what else is around here and where we can put Horatius tent. Because my idea was to have the meeting going on over here, which means Horatius tent would have to be somewhere here. Maybe I can like have it posted out somewhere close to the edge here. Or maybe in place of one of these bigger round tents. And then maybe this part here can be all storage space. Or maybe it can even be like, maybe some kind of small generator out here. So I don't know what else I would put back here. It feels inappropriate to just have Horatius 10 plus this little like generator. Maybe over here is like where we can have the latrine. You know, can't believe the privileges is having the latrine right next to your house. Although I guess, you know, being the latrine being what it is, I don't think you actually want it that close to your house. What else would there be at a dig site? Some kind of Jeep? No, then I have to draw a Jeep. I'm gonna have to learn to do it eventually anyway, though. The eternal conundrum. Oh, maybe this can be Gore's tent, actually. High five, brain. All right, moving on. Let me draw a few more crappy trees here to emphasize the direction that they're going. And actually, maybe I can make the tent here bigger since we need to have to get a better look at it anyway. Okay. Last panel. As soon as I finish this tree over here. Okay, let's see what the description is for this page. Still the best, 1973. I love that I had that image open still. Okay. Let's see, what kind of setup did I put here? I need the rough eraser a bit smaller. You know, I said I'd be working on page 10 today. This ended up being page 9, part 2. But that's okay. Like I said, that's how it goes. What I like about this setting, right, is that I can have these nice clunky computers that still have like an outward bubble-shaped screen. Maybe even a radio antenna too, why not? On my pewter. I can just make Goro smaller if push comes to shove. After all, this is supposed to be a computer made for Horatio, so it makes sense that it's supersized. Hang on. I need to pull up a reference. Somewhere around here. Here we go. Okay, so that's what the finished outfit looks like. Okay. I don't know. Maybe she'll still look disheveled at this point. Disheveled? Disheveled? Okay, it is pronounced disheveled. I do like that I can use my closed captions as a spell checker from time to time. Like, check this shit out. Receive! And now I remember how to spell receive. I don't know. I've always had trouble with receive. That and receipt. You know, the word receive and the word receipt. There we go. I know that it's like a super common English thing, right? I before E except after C. But I don't know. I've always had trouble picking up on that one instinctually. Okay. There we go. Okay. The nose is like this. This head's shaping up to be a little big. I need to repair that. Let's see. Okay, and then over here, like these two ball things, a little bit smaller. I don't know. What are these supposed to be on iguanas? I think that's just like what their skin pattern ended up being like. There has to be a technical term for it, though. I imagine. Those little like bubbly sections. Okay, there we go. That makes the rest of the body look really small, though, is the thing. We need a middle ground. Like this. Okay. And then this one just... Actually, no, this collar over here needs to be angled a little bit lower to match the other one. Today at work, I got the weirdest craving to listen to the Dr. Mario theme. It's one of those very catchy ones, right? I remember first listening to it when I was playing Melee as a kid, right? But it's just such a catchy tune. I need to listen to more of the Dr. Mario soundtrack, to be honest, because I remember also listening to another track called like Chill, right? And that one was also really good. I really enjoyed that one, although I did discover that one through a webcomic called Awful Hospital. That was like my exposure to it. I didn't know the Dr. Mario soundtrack had so many bangers. Weirdly enough, I do know one Nintendo 64 game. I think it was like a Nintendo 64 Tetris game in particular. For some reason, it just had a really good techno soundtrack. I don't remember why precisely, but it just kind of did. To be honest, Tetris has always kind of had a banger soundtrack, right? Like the Tetris theme is very good. Let me take a look at the comic pages. I mean, the next page. No, okay, yeah, no. I think it's better to have Gora still in like her original outfit. Which is to say, with the shirt open, and you can still see like a tank top underneath it. Oh, hey, Andala, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. Thanks for the raid. How you doing? Let me give you a quick shout out. Yeah, thank you for your hard work. Oh, right, you were playing Stalker. How's that going? I've never played any of the Stalker series, but it seems to have like a very post-apocalyptic vibe. Which, I'm always a big fan of. For some reason, I keep on always confusing the Fear series for the Stalker series. Probably because they're both acronyms as titles. Let's improve the 3/4 angle on this lizard. Fun. Haven't played in like 2 months, so I had to relearn the controls a bit. Oof. Tell me about it. I don't know. Some games are very intuitive, and you like remember the controls for them almost instantly. But for a lot of games, especially for ones that I imagine are like more technical, like Stalker, I imagine it's more difficult to pick them back up after a long absence. Good work. Let's see, like this. And then move these guys like this. And voila, the evil iguana woman is ready to go. Let's see. I haven't tried Fear, but I've heard it's good. Yeah, same here. I remember watching V stream it a couple times. It seemed like a very fun kind of shooter, particularly with like the bullet time mechanics and everything. I don't know. V has a talent for making shooter games that I would never find on my own look super fun and promising. That being said, now when I look at the full title for Fear, right, with the acronyms and everything, the I remember that one gangster Bugs Bunny picture where he's like holding like a flintlock or something. It's like fear can stand for two things: forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. Whoever invented putting random cartoon characters in like gangster thug captions and clothing, it their mind was massive. Seriously, all of those images go hard as hell. Okay, we're here. And then finish off the head right here. Of course, we need a little bit of fabric still on the horn. I wonder if like getting something stuck on your horn and not realizing it's there until much later is like the horn haver equivalent of like getting a little bit of lettuce stuck between your teeth and not noticing until much later. I don't know. I haven't had that happen to me very much. I think the only two times it's happened is, or not even two times. I distinctly remember it happening in this one instance, and it might have happened more since then. I literally had to eat like a full box of spinach before something like that happened to me. I don't know. Everybody's teeth are different. Maybe mine are just less prone to like getting clogged with spinach. Okay, let's move Gora slash Emelian a little bit further up in the picture. Maybe with not so much of the tent door hanging over her head. Okay. Like this and like this. We have the gun pointed straight at her. Except for the last finger, which is going to go like this. I'm going to need to put some perspective on this bad boy. Thankfully, that won't be too hard. How are we for time? Yep. We got to start wrapping up soon, but I'll finish the page and then call it a night. It'd be good to have this page finished at least. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Okay, then next up, the rest of the arm. Maybe with the arm outstretched a little bit more. And Horatius' head is going to need to be a little bit smaller to get the perspective right. Maybe, okay, we need to unsmall Horatio once again. Or at least bump him off to a little bit to the side. God, I love the free transform tool. Let's see. Okay, a little bit of this and a little bit of this. Okay, perfect. Draw the rest of the body here and have the other arm over here. Kind of, the idea is that she's putting down Horatio, but the the fact that he's so much bigger than her makes it look like she's just kind of like hanging on to him for dear life. All right, let's try it like this. Okay, and then over here. Okay, just kind of maybe angling the visor so that it looks like she's frowning. Head's a little too big. That's something else that I find with the helmet is that I have a tendency to make it a little bit too big and a little bit too low along the neck. Got to find a better balance. Okay, there we go. And again, with a huge thing of grenades around her neck. That shoulder's a little high. Just so many grenades. And for what? Four on one side and three on the other. That's a lucky number. That's a total of 7. All right, let me just grab a ratio one last time. Okay, one penultimate time. I will need to grab him again after this. Okay, this time for real, it's going to be the last time I grab him. There we go. Can I just expand Hawk's body over here? Make her look a little bit more solidly built? Okay, the little neckerchief over here. Then this. Already shows just massive hand on Hawk's shoulder. Hawk's arm may be a little bit lower because right here it'll dive directly into Horatio's armpit. Let's see. Okay. The cargo shorts doing a lot of the heavy lifting for this outfit. All right. Can I do a quick cheat and make it so that I don't have to run the rest of their bodies? No, that's not going to work. Crud. I might have to try a different angle. If nothing else, I need to shrink them down. How big were they before? Okay. Making them smaller is also viable. If I make them smaller, I need to draw less detail. Okay, there we go. Okay, something's bothering me about this foot, but I can tell like it's got potential. Okay, I think that's gonna do it for this page. Maybe have Horatio's hand up here with the scepter. I hesitate to call it a cane because it's not got the cane shape. It's like a walking stick, but not really. It's a scepter. That thing is a scepter. All right, perfect. Actually, we can just shrink the whole panel in general. All right, good work. Crunchy wrists. All right. Is anybody else streaming right now? Yeah, who all is streaming right now? Oh, a bunch of people. Let's go. Oh, Hitsuchi is streaming Ghost Trick, and he should still be on his anniversary kick. So let's go say hi. In the meantime, I think this is the last stream for this week. So everybody have a lovely weekend. Get some rest. Have a great week, and I will see you all next time. Later. Bye.